Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Wang, and today I am representing Faith Patterson, Jeremy Krantz, and Khalid in our presentation of organizational identity. So the purpose of our study was to really get to know what organizational identity was. At the beginning of this presentation, I think it's pretty safe to say that all four of us had no idea what organizational identity was. So we really wanted to get a good understanding of what it was and how it affects people in the workplace and in other professional settings, so that when we go to conduct surveys and interviews and things like that, that we can answer questions for those people, because a lot of people don't know what organizational identity actually is. We also intended to find recommendations on how to improve an organization's sense of identity. In doing this, we asked the people that we interviewed, they were real professionals out in the workplace, for recommendations and things that they thought help improve organizational identity. So within the workplace, this was a really big aspect for us because this was our center focus for researching organizational identity. So organizational identity is the shared understanding of what the goal of the business is, how to accomplish those goals, and why those goals need to be met. Basically, organizational identity is being able to share these goals and objectives with an entire organization or an entire business amongst like all the employees and members, so that they're all working towards the same common goal. And in establishing an organizational background is crucial for employees, because it's important that they know where the company came from, what they're about, and what they are representing, so that they can accurately represent their organization and work towards the goal that they are trying to meet. It also helps in providing a strong environment that will eventually lead to efficient working skills and success. So later on, we'll talk about it. But organizational identity has a direct correlation with a business or organization's success and growth rates. So it's very important that they have these strong environments and these set goals and objectives in order to have success in their organization. So getting into our research, we did a lot of different research throughout this project. We did some general research, some scholarly research, and then we also did some observational research looking into businesses and how they utilize their organizational identity. So with our general research, we really learned that there's four main parts to organizational identity: the bodily experiences, the language and ongoing narrations, the organizational members and stakeholders, and the leader's claim about what is central. So all of these are just like stepping stones in creating a good organizational identity. Of course, the experiences that the organization and the business and their employees go through builds an organization's identity. The language that businesses use, whether that be in marketing or in just speaking through email to each other, definitely sets a foundation for organizational identity. The members and stakeholders are very, very important in this, because without them, we can't have an organizational identity. And the last one, I think, is almost the most important. The leaders of the organization decide what they think is central or most important, and in doing this, they are the ones that are saying, hey, this is our goal, these are our objectives, this is what our company is doing and why we're doing it, in order to make sure that everybody else is on the same page. So experts believe that organizational identity is more a social category when it comes to social identity. Pardon me. This just kind of means that when in creating an organizational identity, you're really giving all of the employees and the organization as a whole a sense of confidence and reassurance, because you're all on the same page and you're all on the same understanding and nobody is confused. In an article that we found, we read that the identification of an organization has similar consequences for how individuals decide to present themselves. So the same way that I decide that how I want people to perceive me. So if I went to work in my workplace and showed up late every day and dressed like a slob and acted like I didn't care, I would have to have some consequences there, probably getting fired. So those are kind of similar to an organization's identity, just how I have my own identity, an organization has their own. So if they're not upholding their identity, it will lead to a lack of success in the organization. Employees of an organization may have multiple perceptions of major aspects of their organization's identity. So a good example of this is what the organization does, who their audience is, what goals they're trying to reach, and all that. So different employees have different life experiences and different backgrounds. So the way that they perceive things is different than somebody who has a completely different background and who has experienced completely different experiences. So we found that there are two attributes to organizational identity: the attributive the attributive strength and alignment for effort needed, and the 5 social processes that are part of organizational identity are reclaiming, regenerating, reimagining, retiring, and reaffirming. This means that to help employees rebuild their strengths as an organization when their sense of organization identity is low, you must follow all 5 of these steps in order to get organizational identity back where it should be. So, organizational identity moderates the relationship between social identity or categorical and antecedents. So, organizational identity has a really strong relationship with organizational culture. They kind of go hand in hand. So, for example, Chick-fil-A is known for their chicken, of course, their amazing customer service, and their impeccable manners. They're also known for being a very religious company, and they want to become the best in their industry. So, having this image that Chick-fil-A has put out, they are this really great, polite, fast food service unlike any other, and they want to uphold this identity. So in order to do this, they need to adapt to the culture around them and really receive feedback from their customers in order to mold their identity so that they can become the best in their industry. So we conducted a survey amongst the Trine University main campus students. So in this survey, there were 4 yes or no questions that our research team sent out, and we targeted 100 Trine University main campus students. In doing this, we sent out our survey link to many different group chats and several different organizations. We asked our friends and colleagues to send out the link to their friends so that we could reach as many different people and as many different demographics as possible. In our survey, we asked very basic questions to indicate how much Trine students actually knew about organizational identity. When we then asked more specific questions about organizational identity and how it affects in the workplace. So the first question that we asked in our survey was, do you know what organizational identity is? Like I said, a very basic baseline question. We just wanted to know who actually knew what the term organizational identity was. And we found that 51% said no, they do not know what organizational identity was, while 49% said they do. Question 2, have you ever experienced a lack of organizational identity in the workplace or professional setting? So in this, we added a not applicable option in our answers because some people who answered, no, I don't know what organizational identity was, we assumed that they would just click NA because they don't really know what it is. So we found that after asking this question, 41% said that they have experienced a lack of organizational identity in the workplace, while 21% said they haven't. I think our whole group was a little bit surprised by the responses in this question, because over 49% said that they knew that they had or had not experienced organizational identity, which was interesting because only 49% said they knew what organizational identity was. On to question 3, we asked, have you ever experienced a successful sense of organizational identity in the workplace or professional setting? So to reciprocate the last question that we asked, we wanted to see not only how many people have experienced a lack of organizational identity, but a successful sense of organizational identity as well. So in this question, a whopping 55% said yes, they had experienced a successful sense of organizational identity, while only 8% said no. And again, about like 37% said that they weren't able to answer the question. And our last question, we wanted to know if trying students thought organizational identity would make or break the success of a business or organization. I personally found these answers to be a little bit more expected than the last two, because 47% said yes, it does make or break, while another 47% said they had no idea. Only 6% said no, it doesn't make or break the success of a business or organization. I expected the I don't know section to be rather big because a lot of people don't know what organizational identity was. And I was very surprised by how small the percentage of people who said no was. Okay, so after conducting our survey, we also went out into the workplace and interviewed 4 different people, some trained professors and faculty, some out in the community, in order to get a closer look on organizational identity and how it affects people in the workplace. So we learned a few key concepts from all of our different interviewees, which I will explain below. So a strong organizational identity allows leaders to share the same goals as the rest of their employees. This means that having a strong sense of organizational identity gives all the employees or members a common goal to work towards. So it gives them really a sense of unity, and they feel like they're all working together instead of against each other. Different organizations share different morals, ideas, and ethics. I think this one is really important because while organizational identity does have a very strong correlation with whether an organization will succeed or not, it's important to note that different organizations are going to have completely different organizational identities. For instance, McDonald's and Healthy's, the smoothie shop uptown, are going to have very different organizational identities because they are trying to sell different things. They're trying to reach different people, and it's just a very different environment. So their morals and their ideas and their goals are going to be completely different than another organization's. And for businesses to attract customers, they must fulfill their organization's identity. Like I mentioned several times throughout this presentation, organizational identity is key to high growth rates and success amongst organizations and businesses. So if an organization and its employees aren't working to fulfill their organization's identity and meet the goals that their organization is trying to reach, then the organization or business will most likely experience decreasing growth rates and decreasing success. I wanted to highlight this quote from one of our interviewees, Jeanette Goddard. People don't do well with uncertainty. It's hard working for a goal if that goal is always moving and you don't know quite what it is. I thought this was a really good way to show how important organizational identity is. I know for me, it's hard for me to reach a goal if I don't have a goal set. So while all these organizations, they do have this goal set for them, but it's a matter of, do the employees know? Does everybody in the organization know what the goals they're trying to reach and how to reach them? If not, it's kind of hard to keep yourself motivated and be like, yeah, let's reach this goal, because you don't know what it is. So, in conclusion, there's a few things we want to leave you guys with. Successful companies must adapt and change into a more attractive identity to compete with competitors. This is something that, though I haven't talked about it much, is a big takeaway from this and a good recommendation for other companies. So, in a society where we're pretty much always competing with other people, it's really important that you have different identities than your competitors, and that you have to be constantly adapting and being like, continue to be flexible with your identity, because your competitors are going to be just as flexible and competing with you and rolling with the times, so you need to be ready for that as well. Every organizational member's considerations and analyzations are key parts to an organization's identity. This is very important because employees make up an organization. Without your employees, you don't have an organization to build an identity for. So an employee's way of thinking and their interpretations of what they think their goals are, in turn, helps create an organization's identity. Having a practical way to think about why the organization is doing what it is doing is helpful in spreading an understanding of an organization's identity amongst employees. So the organization, before even talking to their employees about their identity, needs to make sure that they understand why they're doing what they're doing before they reach out to their employees. After they establish why they're doing what they're doing and how to reach their goals, it's important that they reach out to all their employees and make sure that they all understand that what goals they're trying to meet and how to meet them. Overall, organizational identity has a huge impact on any organization with strong competitors. A unique identity will only lead to success and confidence for the employees working for that company. Having your own identity will convince believers of your company to invest in it. Organizational identity is the key to success in the workplace. Okay, here's our references, lots of references, and that's it. So thank you guys for listening to our presentation. I really appreciate it, and I know the rest of our group members do as well. I hope you guys learned a little bit about organizational identity in the workplace. Thank you.